with strokes of pink and orange. Ileana would wake to the soft chirping of birds and the distant rustling of leaves. Her small cottage was filled with the earthly scent of clay and the warmth of a flickering hearth. Ileana's days were spent spinning her potter's wheel, her hands gracefully molding the cool, damp clay into beautiful shapes. The soothing sounds of the wheel's rotations was like a meditative chant, calming and repetitive. She crafted bowls, vases and jugs, each piece unique and lovingly made. The villagers often said that her pottery could make flowers smell sweeter and the tea taste richer, for she imbued each piece with a touch of her serene spirit. One misty morning, as the village was wrapped in the silken fog, a mysterious traveler arrived. He was cloaked in a garment that shimmered with a subtle iridescence, like the inside of the seashell. His presence was as quiet as the fog itself, and he spoke in a voice that was both gentle and melodic. The traveler came to Ileana's workshop, intrigued by the tales of her enchanting pottery. "I have traveled far," he said, his words flowing slowly, guided by the stories of your craft. "I seek a vessel, not merely to hold water, but to capture the essence of the moon." Ileana listened, her hands paused in their work, her heart touched by the beauty of his request. She invited him to sit by the fire, offering a cup of tea, cradled it one of her finest creations. The steam from tea rose in the quiet air, carrying with it the scent of mint and lavender from her garden. As they sat, the traveler shared tales of his journey, speaking of distant lands where mountains floated in the skies and rivers sang lullabies. Ileana, moved by the poetry of his words, decided she would create for him a special bowl, one that shimmered like starlight and was as deep as the night sky. The creation of such a piece, she explained, would require a journey into the heart of the forest, to gather the mystical clay set to light in the roots of the ancient moon willow tree. According to legend, this tree was bathed in moonlight every night, absorbing its glow and mystery. The traveler, eager to partake in this quest, agreed to accompany her at dawn. The next day, Ileana and the traveler ventured into the forest. The path was carpeted with moss and framed with ferns that glistened with dew. They walked beneath towering oaks and whispering pines, their footsteps muffled by the soft earth. The deeper they went into the forest, the more the light dimmed, replaced by a luminous twilight created by the thick canopy above. As they approached the heart of the forest, where the oldest trees whispered ancient secrets, Eliana began to feel a tingling sense of anticipation. The moon willow was near. She could feel its presence. But just as the silhouette of the grand tree began to take shape through the mist, the silhouette of the grand moon willow tree emerged, towering and ethereal in the misty forest gloom. Its bark was silvered with age, and its leaves shimmered with a faint luminescence, as if absorbing the essence of the moon itself. The ground around the tree was blanketed in a thick layer of moss, and small, twinkling flowers that seemed to pulse gently with light dotted the area. Eliana and the traveler stood in awe before the moon willow. Its presence was overwhelming, filled with a serene majesty that seemed almost palpable. The air around it was cool and tinged with the fragrance of jasmine and silverfit, a scent that seemed to calm the spirit and clear the mind. Here, Eliana whispered, her voice a soft murmur blending seamlessly with the rustling leaves. The clay we seek lies beneath the roots of this ancient tree. With gentle hands, Eliana began to dig through the moss, carefully, not to disturb the tranquil sanctity of the moon willow dwellings. The traveler knelt beside her, assisting in the search. As they dug, the soil beneath their fingers became cooler and finer, until at last they uncovered a vein of clay that gleamed with a subtle, otherworldly glow. It was unlike any clay Eliana had ever seen, with a texture that was both silky and resilient, and a color that shifted with the angle of the light, from deep blue to a pale, moonlit silver. "This is it," Eliana said, a tremor of excitement in her voice. "This is the clay that will hold the essence of the moon." They collected what they needed and made their way back to the village. The clay secure in a clothes bag that Eliana carried over her shoulder. As they walked, the traveler continued to share more tales of his travels, each story woven with the magic and mystery of distant lands. Eliana listened, her imagination alight with images of soaring mountains and enchanted rivers, her heart swelling with the inspiration these stories brought to her craft. Upon returning to her workshop, Eliana set to work. She prepared her potter's wheel, and as it spun, she shaped the mystical clay with a reverence she had never felt before. The traveler watched, his eyes reflecting the flicker of the firelight, his presence a calm comfort. Days passed as Eliana walked, her hands guided by a newfound grace. She infused the bowl with the patterns inspired by the stories the traveler had shared: mountains, rivers, stars and winds, all flowing seamlessly into one another. The bowl began to take on a life of its own, its surface catching the light in ways that mesmerized anyone who saw it. However, as the sorcerer entered Eliana's workshop just as the last touches were being made. Her presence was commanding, and her eyes sparkled with curiosity and an unspoken knowledge. She examined the bowl, her fingers lightly tracing the patterns that Eliana had so lovingly crafted. "This is indeed a vessel of great beauty and power," the sorcerer said, her voice both enchanting and daunting. "But it is not yet complete. There is a final element it requires, known only to those who have delved deep into the secrets of the moon." Eliana listened intently, her heart beating fast with both excitement and hint of fear. The sorceress spoke of a rare midnight bloom, a flower that opened only under the fullest moon, its petals said to capture the very essence of moonlight. Eliana's eyes widened with wonder as the sorceress of the north described the midnight bloom. "This rare flower," she explained, "grew in a secluded part of the forest, known only to those who were deeply attuned to the magic of nature. It was said that the flower's petals glowed with the light of the full moon, holding power that could awaken the true spirit of any creation." Determined to complete her masterpiece, Eliana decided to seek out the midnight bloom. The traveler, having grown fond of Eliana's and her village, chose to join her on this final leg of her quest, eager to witness the culmination of their shared journey. Under the guidance of the sorceress, who provided them with a map inked in luminescent lines, they set off into the forest as the sky began to darken, heralding the rise of the full moon. The forest at night was a real transformed. Shadows danced between the trees, and the air was alive with the whispers of nocturnal creatures. Guided by the soft glow of the map and the light of the full moon, Eliana and the traveler moved through the woods with a sense of awe and slight trepidation. After hours of searching, they arrived at the clearing where the moonlight pooled like silver water. In the center, surrounded by a ring of ancient stones, grew a single, exquisite midnight bloom. Its petals were a deep, luminous blue, shimmering with an inner light that seemed almost liquid. Eliana approached it reverently, her heart full of gratitude and wonder. With the utmost care, she plucked the midnight bloom, its petals cool and silky under her fingertips. The air around them seemed to pulse softly, as if the forest itself was breathing a sigh of relief. With the precious flower secured, Eliana and the traveler made their way back to the village, their path lit by the radiant moon overhead. Back in her workshop, Eliana placed the petals of the midnight bloom into the bowl, arranging them in a circular pattern at the bottom. As the petals touched the clay, they began to dissolve into a shimmering liquid that spread across the surface of the bowl, infusing it with a gentle, glowing light. The stars she had depicted were breathing. The completion of the moonlit ball was celebrated throughout Willowbrook. The villagers gathered in Eliana's workshop, marveling at the creation that had captured the essence of the moon itself. The traveler shared the final tales of their adventure, his voice mingling with the soft, mesmerizing hum of the bowl. As for the sorceress of the North, she nodded in approval, her eyes reflecting the light of the ball. You have done well, Eliana. This creation is not only a vessel of beauty, but also of profound magic. It shall bring peace and inspiration to all who behold it. Eliana felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing her craft had transcended the boundaries of art and touched the mystical. The traveler decided to stay in Willowbrook, his heart no longer restless, for he had found a place that felt like home. From that day forward, the moonlit ball sat by Eliana's window, glowing softly under the moon's gaze each night, a symbol of her journey and the magic that lies in the pursuit of beauty and mystery. And while life in Willowbrook returned to its peaceful rhythm, Eliana's nights were filled with dreams of new creations, each inspired by the magic she had touched.